Beneath Naples, something ancient is heating up fast. At Campi Flegrei, walls are warming, floors are cracking, and scientists are quietly admitting they initially got it wrong. So, if this is not an eruption, then what exactly is happening beneath the city right now? In the neighborhoods west of Naples, something unsettling is unfolding in real time. Residents are not being jolted awake by explosions or ash clouds. Instead, they're noticing subtler and more disturbing changes. They have reported experiencing floors that feel unusually warm, as well as walls that seem to radiate heat long after sunset. There are also hairline cracks spreading across tiles and concrete, where none existed before. In other words, what might have looked ordinary from the outside is quietly becoming unstable from the inside. And it's causing unease and tension across the locality. And this is not happening on some remote volcanic peak. This is unfolding beneath apartment buildings, elementary schools, corner cafes, and children's playgrounds. Over the past several months, this area has exploded back into international news cycles. Not because of a dramatic eruption, but because instruments are showing numbers that make scientists pretty uncomfortable. For starters, temperatures at surface vents are climbing higher than ever recorded in modern monitoring. Carbon dioxide is also pouring out of the ground at rates that far exceed what was once considered normal. In response, authorities have closed off entire blocks, fencing in streets that people used just days earlier. The situation is bad, such that crews repair damaged roads, only to return days later when the asphalt splits again. In light of that, Italian civil protection officials have expanded exclusion zones as a precaution, acknowledging that what was once labeled routine volcanic behavior is no longer behaving routinely at all. Sensors have picked up signals pointing toward the ground slowly lifting in some areas, then jolting with clusters of shallow earthquakes. Gas releases are increasing, not just in open spaces, but along sidewalks, roads, and building foundations. There have even been reports of evacuations that have been triggered, not by fear, but by numbers on a screen crossing thresholds they were not supposed to reach. What makes this even stranger is the fact that for years, this region lived with the assumption that any serious warning would be obvious. Sirens, smoke, and then a reaction. Yet this situation has caught everyone off guard. There is no single crater to watch, or a dramatic skyline signal. Everything seems to be happening beneath dense neighborhoods, packed with people who go to work, shop for groceries, and put their kids to bed. To put everything into perspective, more than 1.5 million people live within these neighborhoods, with 500,000 residing directly within the 7-mile caldera itself. Based on all these, the debate about whether Campi Flegrei qualifies as active seems to have ended. The seismographs, GPS stations, and gas sensors have settled that question definitively. What remains and what's keeping scientists awake at night is something far more unsettling. Exactly how dangerous has it become right now? And perhaps more critically, if this situation deteriorates further, how much advance warning would anyone actually receive before something catastrophic happens? These are the specific questions that don't have comfortable answers yet. This development implies that Campi Flegrei defies every instinct people have about volcanoes. The first signs are not dramatic. Instead, they are subtle and range from a faint hissing sound escaping from cracks in the pavement to a sharp sulfur smell lingering in the air long after rain. In some places, steam seeps up through sidewalks and drains, which in turn leads to blurring the line between solid ground and something far less stable. To add to the mystery, new fumaroles have begun appearing without warning. Sometimes they're even forming overnight, occurrences that have never been reported at any other time in the modern history of this place. Next, let's talk about the movement. In several districts, the ground itself has risen by inches within mere months, placing enormous stress on buildings never engineered to handle this kind of movement. Walls have fractured, while doors no longer close properly. Monitoring stations around Pisciarelli and Solfatara are now recording temperatures higher than anything seen since modern measurements began. For instance, at Solfatara, The main fumarole at Boca Grande has confirmed an increasing trend with average temperatures reaching 165 degrees Celsius. These are values never previously recorded at that location, and that's just surface temperature. The hydrothermal system below has reached 350 degrees Celsius. Carbon dioxide emissions have more than doubled, jumping from approximately 1,500 tons per day before 2017 to around 3,500 tons per day in subsequent years. That's the kind of gas output you would normally associate with an actively erupting volcano, not a supposedly dormant system. Then, in abandoned structures near active vents, walls and floors are being transformed. Volcanic minerals are depositing layer by layer, bonding to concrete and paint, forming brittle crusts created by heat and acidic vapor. This is not crumbling due to old age. It's a situation where the buildings are being chemically rewritten from the inside out. If this is the kind of activity happening at the surface, you won't want to miss what scientists are now discovering below it. So make sure you're subscribed before we go any deeper, because what comes next has sent shockwaves and thrown everyone into disarray. So, what makes scientists truly uneasy about all these? The volcanic system is no longer behaving the way it did even a decade ago. The patterns they have been tracking, earthquake sequences, gas flow dynamics, surface heat distribution, all suggest that pressure is migrating upward. Not slowly over centuries, but faster than their models predicted, and it's getting closer to the surface with each passing month. Recently discovered long-period seismic signals indicate a fissure-like structure at approximately 2 miles deep, connecting the underlying magma and gas reservoir with surface fumaroles. Behind closed doors, officials have even stopped using careful and measured language and are now being blunt. This is no longer a slow, distant threat that future generations might need to worry about. This is active, measurable, and accelerating at a rate no one thought was possible. The question is no longer whether Campi Flegrei deserves serious attention anymore. The evidence has already made that answer painfully clear. What keeps authorities up at night is something far more immediate. How much more can this system take before something gives? To understand why Campi Flegrei commands such intense scientific scrutiny, you have to step back beyond satellite data, beyond seismic charts, and even beyond anything captured by modern instruments, and look much further into the past. You see, the caldera formed following two massive explosive eruptions. The Campanian Ignimbrite eruption approximately 40,000 years ago, and the Neapolitan Yellow Tuff eruption about 15,000 years ago. Technically, these were not minor geological hiccups. They were catastrophic events that fundamentally reshaped the landscape. When you walk through Pozzuoli today, you're essentially walking inside a volcanic collapse structure. In fact, the caldera-forming eruption 40,000 years ago stands as the largest known eruption in Europe during the last 200,000 years. Ash from that single event has been discovered as far away as Russia. That's more than 1,550 miles from the source. As if that's not enough, a 1-meter thick layer of volcanic ash found in Romania, roughly 930 miles away, is attributed to this eruption. And it was not just that one cataclysmic event. A significant eruption occurred about 29,000 years ago that spread volcanic ash across more than 23,000 square miles of the Mediterranean region. This eruption was similar in scale to the younger collapse. When you stand on those streets today, the calm and ordinary surface begins to feel far less permanent. Because underneath all that normalcy lies something that has proven, beyond any doubt, that it possesses the raw power to reshape everything above it. Now, the real question hanging in the air is whether the current acceleration in activity is building towards something similar. And if it is, nobody seems to know how much time remains to figure that out.